Oh, is Arbutus? Oh, wow. Arbutus, they gave in? They gave in? Wow. The proxy fight's over? Wow. They fired the CEO and changed the whole board. Oh, they put a 𝗨𝗏𝗘𝗀𝗃 person on the board. They're going to clean up on this lawsuit against Moderna. Man, I'm going to buy a little Arbutus, man. They're suing Moderna's.
𝗨𝗏𝗘𝗢𝗏.
You see, it gapped up and came back down. But this is what you want. They're not going to spend any more money. I think the board realized it was a fait accompli that at the annual meeting that they were just going to get kicked out anyway. Wow, Bitcoin's really puking. Nah, we did a bunch of work on Arbutus yesterday, and I don't know if you know this, but I spent about 20 years looking at drug stocks.
𝗨𝗏𝗘𝗢𝗏.
And this is the news we've been waiting for. So you really want to question me? You think I've done that little due diligence? Man, I try, bro. Yeah, in biotech, the revenue is, unless they're selling a product, that's it. I don't mean no disrespect. A lot of haters today, man. Are you mad I'm suffering from success? It also depends on how much revenue. I don't even think that company's profitable, but if it's profitable. Microsoft said they are not canceling any data center contracts. They said that yesterday, though. They said absolutely not. Yeah, look, this whole business with Rigetti and IonQ has not been my finest hour. But what are you going to do? Why is it below 9? Where's quantum computing? I thought they were gonna be the future NVIDIA. Why is it down? I guess I'll just wait.
Order partially filled.
I mean, you already know, Humphrey. Come on, bro. You know I stay short, bro. Did you see what Steve Cohen said? Steve Cohen's bearish publicly. Cannot own any stock right now. Any stock. I've not touched a long in weeks.
𝗨𝗏𝗘𝗢𝗏.
Maybe months. Steve Cohen said tariffs, Doge, and immigration are toxic brew. He used the word brew twice. Rigetti's down. I might as well diamond hand. Like AMC. Let me check my portfolio. Rigetti, AMC, Bed Bath & Beyond, Q, 𝗏𝗏𝗵𝗏𝗘𝗢𝗏. The 𝗏𝗏𝗵𝗏𝗘𝗢𝗏. The 𝗏𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗘𝗢𝗏. I love it. The qubit in the last name. We gotta incorporate block sphere too. I honestly love quantum computing. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I think anytime you're trying to use the forces of the universe to do computation, I mean, it's an amazing idea. I mean, I hope you guys get the sense of wonder and magic that I do when I think about quantum computing. But you can't, look at these stocks and say they're exciting because they're just not. Yeah, there's a but there. And it's not even that it's not here yet, actually. It's really not that. Even when it gets here, it's not that exciting. Like, it's only exciting to people like me that love this stuff. I mean, this is the most fascinating science you can think of. This is the most futuristic thing you can think of. But what are you going to do with it? You give me a quantum computer tomorrow, I'm just sitting there like, yeah, now what? I'm going to multiply the world's largest numbers. That's the kind of guy I am. I'm going to try to factor the biggest RSA numbers. But when did that become a business? Yeah, you can still have unbreakable encryption. That's been solved already. Yeah, we'll move to post-quantum encryption. I'm short like 4 stocks in large size. That's my book. You should know this already. Rigetti, IonQ, D-Wave, that's it, man. March. I don't have any March options. I don't like ever buying vol, okay? Anybody who buys vol is kind of a sucker to begin with. So you should never want to be long vol, especially after a VIX spike, right? The old saying is the premium writers make the money. So if you're long vol, you're really making an opinion, a strong opinion. And here's the thing, okay? If you're short a stock or long a stock, let's go long because it's easier to understand. If you're long a stock and it does this, isn't this the best possible thing, right? This is the best possible chart according to many investors. Some investors think the best possible chart is this. Some disagree. There's a big, debate out there in the high-end investor, high finance community. The problem with this is the vol, which is unlikely to repeat itself. You're not going to keep going up in this direction, right? This is much more realistic. Because when you have this, you're probably going to have, you know, something that looks like this. Then you have something like looks like this. Options are great in this regime, right? Options are terrible to own in this regime. So you might be bullish on a stock and buy calls and you get this guy. And you are upset because your calls didn't really appreciate in value because you played a high implied volatility, high IV. And if you're not looking at the historical IV and stuff like that, which again, I'm going to teach you guys with Godel at some point. I'm going to teach you guys all about options. Then, you know, we got an options expert. We might be bringing on senior Wall Street guy. You know, you got to be pretty smart about how you play options. And I'm not just, you know, when I say smart, I don't really mean smart. I more mean like lucky and good to the point of it being impossible. You know, most people cannot predict, is the stock going to be volatile this month or next month? That's silly. Who can predict that? You know, now, if you're sitting on Wall Street, you got 18 monitors, you got 15 brokers, you got 200 people calling you, you have all kinds of information. All right, maybe that's a little different. 𝗕𝗢𝗊𝗑 can't do it either. They just roll vol. A lot of experience. You're still going to be batting 51%. I mean, listen, I tell you straight up, I can't do it. And I've done all those things. So if you think you can predict the price of vol, good for you. But every time you buy an option, you're not just doing a directional bet. You're doing a vol bet and a directional bet, right? So one more time, let's say you've decided you're bullish, okay? So I'm going to be long. I want long exposure. So what does that mean? Well, for a lot of people, they reach out and say, I want to buy the calls. But the problem with that is you buy the calls, sure, you're going to get long exposure, but you're also long vol. You didn't ask for that. You just want to be long the stock. But you're making two bets now. Or there's another way to get long exposure is you sell puts. Now you have long exposure and you're short vol. It's a crazy idea. Maybe you do half of this guy and half of this guy, and now you don't have a vol bet anymore. So you just have your long exposure, which is what you wanted. For a lot of people, they just want leverage. Now you don't really get leverage with shorting puts. You only get leverage with being long stock. Well, there's a couple things you could do here. You could have portfolio margin, and you can usually get 2 to 3x. I think single stock futures will give you some leverage. Most people don't trade those. And finally, deep in the money. Deep in the money calls will generally give you a lot more leverage than common, but you got to go pretty deep. Well, I'm talking 99% delta, 95 to 99% delta if you want to leverage. And you'll get 5x leverage up to 5x leverage and this kind of thing. But if you want 10 to 20x leverage, you're going to have to sacrifice the delta, in which case you're just gambling again. You're long vol again. Well, if you're short vol, you don't have to worry about theta bleed because your short option is going to pay you as the theta, and the long option is going to spend you theta.
And it's crazy. I started buying all these.
IonQ is really 28. Isn't this what we've been waiting for? I'm going to put Meek Mill on my board of directors. Let's see how our investors feel about that.
𝗠𝗏𝗑𝗢.
Oh, don't worry. You're not going to believe the stuff I'm going to give you with Godel. You're going to have the professional's viewpoint. They're going to be mad at Jane Street. They're going to be mad at 𝗥𝗏𝗏𝗏. I'm just kidding. We're going to help those guys too. There you go. Eric Wong knows the song. You see, all these kids growing up now, they're not going to know DMX. It's my job to teach them. And I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more content on teaching. I've been slacking on that, but I think it's really important. One, because look, business-wise, the youngins all become grown-ups at some point. And there's no real great place for this kind of content.
𝗠𝗏𝗑𝗢.
A lot of the entrepreneurs of the mid-2010s, they watch my videos because there's nothing else to watch from serious business leaders that were like going ham. There's just nothing to watch. So they were like, I'm a tech guy, but I'm going to watch this guy anyway, even though he's a finance guy, because at least he's like, he's in founder mode. He's in, he's hustling. So a lot of those guys watched me and they've created billion-dollar companies. I'm so proud of those dudes. Shout out to Ryan, who just tweeted yesterday. Some really nice comments there. I'm very blessed and lucky for that. But I want to keep educating the next generation too. And that includes with stuff about startups, stuff with, I'm talking about Ryan from FlexSport. FlexSport's having a big second win. they hired this guy. They hired the #2 guy from Amazon. When Bezos picked Jassy to run Amazon upon his retirement to 𝗥𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, which, I don't blame him. The other dude, I forgot his name, he basically left and joined Flexport to become the CEO of Flexport. And Ryan, this is Ryan Peterson, Ryan kind of like went to Founders Fund / was like the chairman or whatever. Then the guy from Amazon just stunk it up. And Ryan had to come back. And apparently he's back and better than ever. So it's very cool. But it was definitely a little wild. It was really actually kind of sweet to see Bezos's text with her. He called her a live girl, ALIV, alive. And I think he felt like he was before, during, and after Amazon, not after, he was like in that relationship, he was like just drowning in this like life he didn't like. And that I have nothing bad to say about Mackenzie. I don't know any of these people. Whatever that chemistry was, it wasn't there. I thought it was very sweet that he called her that because she kind of brought so much new life into him. He was like really alive again. That was pretty cool. I mean, you don't know that lady, so, I wouldn't talk smack about her. What if she's fantastic? You don't know. Yeah, he's I think that she found some way to like make him feel more alive and more energetic. And look at his physique now. I mean, he went from computer nerd. he could be The Rock, stunt double for The Rock. Good on them, good on them. Yeah, bald beat counter. I mean, listen, it's for a lot of women, it's really more about how they look when they're clothed. They want to fit into dresses and things like that. I totally could understand that given the pressures of society. And even women who are very curvaceous, they end up having other problems where they also want plastic surgery. So it's just the way society has shaped itself, that expected to be beautiful and men are expected to be nothing, nothing special. And that's it. Yeah, I'm doing a little covering, little buying of calls, but I mean, it feels like there's a lot more downside and people are just giving up in this quantum complex. I kind of think Rigetti's maybe the better short just because we don't have the complication of their quarter this week. And I do think it's very telling that like IonQ easily could have used their currency to buy a quantum startup like Alice and Bob, or like there's 50 quantum computing startups. They could have invested, right? But instead they're saying, quantum computing. Yes, this is it. Yeah, I guess they were like, well, we're going to spend that $250 million. I guess this meme doesn't really even apply anymore. But instead of like buying, I guess somebody was, the IonQ guys were like, you're going to buy, I guess the better meme is like, oh, we got a guy here. Okay. His actual name. Good for you. Fadid Khalid worked at Deloitte & Touche. No hedge fund experience. Deloitte & Touche says, what do they do again? Is that a mutual fund? How much assets under management do they have? They pay 2 and 20? No, oh, it's a consulting firm. Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Consulting and accounting. How about Alvarez and Marsal? They must have billions of dollars under assets under management, right? You trade a pod there? Oh, it's an investment bank, a boutique one at that. So where'd you learn to trade? At home? In your PJs? Okay, well, what about this here? What about this here? What about this guy? He must be good, right? Tom Joy. First 12 years spent in engineering field. You never worked on Wall Street, not even as an intern? You even worked as an intern? Okay, you got an MBA, okay. Maybe you got an MBA, then you went to Wall Street. MBA in Information Systems Management and transitioned fully into finance. Okay, well, where? Must have joined a hedge fund. Where's the experience? Okay, well, we got this guy. Jay Kuntzman, okay? Worked at the Chicago Stock Exchange. All right, equity options trader, left and has been managing portfolios for himself and some friends. Okay, we got a guy that worked for some indeterminate amount of time at the Chicago Stock Exchange as some kind of clerk or runner or something. Whoa. Not even SIBO? Man, hold on a second. I'm talking about Chicago Stock Exchange. The Chicago Stock Exchange accounts for less than what numbers? What? Word? This is what a Chicago Stock Exchange trader is doing all day. Joe, wake up! What? There's an order. We got an order. We have a customer. Wake up. So they'll confuse Chicago Stock Exchange with CBOE. Those are two different things. Professional. What professional? What professional? He's got nothing to say about quantum. Very quiet about quantum. I've been too nice to these haters. I've been letting you live. Jaguar, they don't have a fund? This is a newsletter, dog. Fund?
Order filled.
You think somebody would invest with these guys? No, NVIDIA's guidance is for pretty good growth, but it's like more like 50-something% revenue growth. Consensus for NVIDIA is 54% revenue growth for the calendar. So 191 forward 12 months, not including this quarter. They're going to do 38 this quarter, which for including this quarter and the past 3 quarters, that's 124 billion. Next 4 quarters would be 191, which is about 50% revenue growth. I use a very expensive custom keyboard. Godel is $60 a month. I actually prefer that you guys don't subscribe to it. That's why I took off the link, because we are just signed some big contracts that increase our cost per user by $15. It was already, so it's another $15 cost per user. And so our margins per user are dropping, and I'd rather raise the price first to 80 or 100. No, I don't think $15,000 is enough, Shubham. Especially as the price increases, like we're focused on institutions. I mean, the biggest data vendors are S&P Global, NASDAQ, London Stock Exchange Group, that includes Refinitiv, Morningstar, Euronext, the different Asian exchanges. I don't think that's a problem, Michael, because like you don't have to use the chat features. And then the other thing is that I think for institutional, we might like not segregate the chat, but like you almost have to like want to see the retail stuff. And then we probably wouldn't let the retail cross over to the institutional chat. I'm not sure. We have to think about that. Don't want to get it just right. I do think the institutions don't care, as long as like they could kind of hide their identity or stay anonymous is a better way to put it. But remember, institutions have a lot of rules. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to give out free alpha in general, but yeah, it's for now, if you buy Godel, you stay the same price forever, but you do have to stay subscribed. You can't just... I think you'd be surprised at how willing institutions are to talk to non-institutions. I still think like, again, I'll be more clear over time, because like there's some data sets that I think institutions do want. And I think in certain kinds of stocks, institutions do want to communicate with retail. But I feel like for most like S&P 500 stocks, I don't think institution wants to talk to retail. But like if retail is the majority owner of a certain stock, like I think that's a little different. And I also think like, again, you'll see more over time what I'm talking about. You know, we have a pretty good plan, I think. I wouldn't immediately disregard the idea of there being some like overlap.
Order filled.
I do think there could be some overlap there. Yeah, I mean, we flipped HIMS like 3 or 4 times. Our first trade on HIMS was to short it when Palantir was dropping. That proved to be a good trade. I got out too early, but that was the first kind of like effort. Then the earnings release came out and it looked good to me, so I bought it and I kept buying it. Then I listened to the earnings call. On the earnings call, they say they're not going to sell Ozempic anymore. Well, that's a bit of a disaster, isn't it? And on the earnings call, they also disclosed in the Q&A how much GLP revenue they were doing, and it was a lot. It was more than I expected. I thought it was like a nothing burger for them. It was actually a lot of revenue for them. Yeah, I made it clear on stream what was happening, and I sold. Well, they can't sell somebody else's product. I mean, that's been the problem with HIMS for a long time. So they decided to stop. So I sold all the HIMS, and when I went short, and this morning I covered it, but I covered too early. So I'm happy with the quantum. So yeah, I'm still not ready to take a victory lap on this. Oh, I also think like IonQ may be setting us up. So I was thinking about this, and I think Rigetti may be the better short.
Order partially filled. Order
But
filled.
I'm not sure, but like IonQ is kind of a sketchball company. Rigetti knows they're like, yeah, it's probably just all beta, but like, no, not really, Dusty. The IonQ guys have been like suspiciously reactive to the market, whereas like Rigetti's been like, whatever. IonQ put out a press release when Jensen Quantum. They care, yeah, Michael. Now, usually it doesn't matter whether you care or not. The market's going
Order partially filled.
market's going to handle you
Order filled.
one way or another. Yeah, Rigetti was clear that like we're a science experiment, guys.
Order
Relax.
filled.
It's just a big science experiment. It's a LARP. It's a meme. So earnings, like they said they had a good Q4. They kind of pre-announced that their Q4 would be above expectations. I'm sure you guys remember that. They've
Order
done
partially filled.
they did like these two acquisitions, and I'm wondering if those two acquisitions have these like grant revenue that they're gonna like grandfather in those grants, and they can kind of like pitch that their 2025 revenue is going to be a lot. Now, will the market actually believe that, or will the market see through the shenanigans? Because at the end of the day, we know the computer doesn't work, right? We know it doesn't do anything useful. So them acquiring a bunch try to like
Order partially filled.
make revenue look good.
Order
I
filled.
don't think that's gonna work, but it makes me wonder. I mean, the news of the acquisition is already out today, but I think like it's just I think it'll sell off anyway, just because like at bottom, like there's nothing valuable there. There's no obvious. No, they're doing acquisition only in stock. There's no obvious benefit off the bat, but it doesn't mean it shouldn't be pursued. It doesn't mean that. I mean, I love it. You know, it's super interesting scientifically. Like using quantum effects to do computing is like, I mean, so cool and impressive. Like there's just, I don't know if it's trivial because like on Wall Street, if you say your revenue is going to be X and it is X, you know, it kind of counts for something. Even if it's like dumb grant revenue you acquired. Do you remember when SoundHound went up a bunch? They were going up for inorganic revenue too. And so like, will the analysts, I think they'll ask the question and like the data will come out that it's like, oh, our core quantum business would have had X in revenue. But because we acquired this company that was doing a grant, you know, we have even more revenue. But actually our core quantum business was like tracking below expectations. The Microsoft thing is a bit of a mystery. We don't know exactly what's happening with that. It's not 100% clear how that's going to go. Yeah, I basically don't think the acquisition is like they're even getting anything quantum related. It's like very suspicious. And like I can go buy a bunch of crappy hardware companies and pretend that they're quantum. But like the question is, show me a quantum.
Partially filled.
Show me a quantum computer.
Order filled.
Show me an actual quantum computer that works. And they can't do that. So I assume they'll announce their
Order partially
acquisition.
filled.
I assume they'll announce their acquisition tonight. I don't know. We have no clue.
Order filled.
The D-Wave guys are just absolute clowns, man. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, why not just short D-Wave, IonQ, and Rigetti, and QUBT? So, like, we don't have to just fixate on IonQ, and they do an acquisition and pretend like they're a real business. If Microsoft actually works, every company's dead. Most people think Microsoft is LARPing. Like, everybody's dead if Microsoft works. And there's definitely a non-zero chance that they're LARPing, right? Like, there's no reason to think that you can dismiss it right off the bat. There's definitely a chance that they're telling the truth. Yeah, I'm shorting some QUBT right now. We're talking about quantum. We're not talking about AI right now. So anyway, D-Wave was around when I was a teenager. D-Wave is sad. I was trolling their CEO. He was like, quantum is now. I was like, what? So why do you have any revenue?